Tom was a serious guy. He worked hard, really hard. He had a clear goal: to memorize 20 English words every day. That's 600 a month and 7,200 a year. He made a study plan. He used colors to mark each day's task. Every morning at 6, he'd get up, make a cup of coffee, and sit down at his desk. He used an app to test himself again and again. He wrote the words in a notebook, then practiced from memory over and over. He truly believed if he kept going, one day he'd speak English fluently. For the first 10 days, he was full of energy. Every mark on his word list felt like progress. His friends asked, "Don't you get tired doing this every day?" Tom smiled and said, "No, I'm building my future self." But after a month, something felt wrong. When he tried to speak, his mind went completely blank. He remembered words like take, make, run, but he couldn't put them together into a sentence. 2 months later, his confidence started to shake. He realized most of the words from day one were gone. Words that once looked familiar now seemed brand new. Every review felt like a race against forgetting. The harder he worked, the more anxious he became. He started to doubt himself. Maybe my memory just isn't good enough. Maybe I'm not meant to learn English. That night, Tom stared at his thick notebook, filled with thousands of words. A wave of frustration hit him. He thought, am I really that dumb? Or do I just not understand how the brain remembers things? After that day, Tom stopped memorizing words. He took a break and started to watch himself learn. He realized something important. He had been stuffing information into his brain, but he never thought about how the brain actually stores or forgets things. Then he came across a quote: "The brain is not a warehouse, it's a connector." That line hit him hard. He suddenly understood everything. His old way of learning was like trying to fill a broken box with water. No matter how much he poured in, it always leaked out. Why? Because the words were never connected. So Tom decided to change completely. No more old methods. No more pure memorization. He wanted to find a way that his brain would actually enjoy. He started with review. Before, he only focused on new words. He never went back to check old ones. Now, he made a plan. Learn on day 1, review on day 3, look again on day 7. He even made a chart in his notebook. Every word had its own review date. At first, it felt like extra work, but after a week, he noticed something amazing. Words he used to need 5 reviews to remember now stuck after just 2. He realized something important. Forgetting isn't failure. It's a signal. If you review just before you forget, your brain can reactivate that memory. One day, he was watching a show. He heard a line, "I ran into my old friend." He froze. Run into? Haven't I memorized this? But this time, he saw a picture in his mind. The street, laughter, an old friend after a long time. In that moment, run into equals meet by chance, stuck in his brain forever. That night, he made a decision. From now on, every word he learned would come with a mental picture. For miss the bus, he imagined himself running after the bus. A few days later, he noticed something amazing. He didn't need to force himself to memorize anymore. Whenever he thought of the picture, the meaning just came naturally. Tom also noticed something else. The words he memorized were fine on their own, but he messed up when he tried to use them in a sentence. So he tried a new approach. He didn't just memorize words anymore. He memorized expressions. He filled his walls with sticky notes. Take care of. Make a decision. Every day, while showering, brushing his teeth, or walking, he would read them out loud. Slowly, he noticed something amazing. He didn't need to translate in his head anymore. Whole sentences just popped out naturally. Speaking became smoother. It felt more natural. Finally, he realized something important. Words are just parts. Expressions are the real language. Before, Tom only memorized words. Now, every time he learned a word, he made a sentence. For important, he said, "English is important for me." In the morning, he practiced in front of the mirror for 5 minutes. At night, he wrote a few sentences in his diary using the new words. A month later, he was surprised. He could speak more smoothly. Many words he hadn't reviewed for days still stuck. He finally understood something important. The strongest memory doesn't come from memorizing. It comes from using the words. 3 months later, Tom wasn't anxious anymore. He wasn't afraid of forgetting words. He only learned 10 words a day now, but he could actually use them in real English. He started to enjoy learning. It wasn't about memorizing anymore. It was about living the language. Tom often said, "I used to think hard work meant memorizing more. Now I know real hard work is using the right method."